What's up everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today we're going to have some sort of a casual conversation. We're going to be looking at, say, the open world structure of Gotham Knight and the co-op side of things. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because there was a very short discussion that Patrick Redding pretty much had in terms of an answer to a question at the San Diego Comic-Con. And for some reason, I didn't even get the chance to make a video pointing this out, because he was talking about the assets and the way the world is built for replication, which is the system that Unreal Engine 4 uses to work on multiplayer platforms or multiplayer games. The way you build it, you pretty much design something that would replicate all of the different assets within the world to interact and relay the messages that they're sending over the server to the other player. So an example would probably be maybe this character that Nightwing is fighting with, or the way Red Hood is basically shooting characters and they're responding by animating and staggering. The person that's playing Nightwing will basically be seeing that. That's all it is. It's nothing really complicated in the explanation, but in Unreal Engine 4, apparently it's a really complicated process. And something that I don't know if I can actually share this, but there is a document in the developer world that somebody pretty much showed me, and it's a document on how to do replication in C++ and Unreal Engine 4, and it is the most complicated thing I've ever seen in my life. Keep in mind, I actually studied one of the sciences in college, and I've never seen anything so complex in my entire life. I think this is probably where I started to have a lot more I would say respect for game development, because yes, the sciences are difficult, they're challenging, but when it comes to high-level programming and doing things over the network and relaying the way interactions happen through server and client and all of that, it really does take some very intelligent people to bring these systems to life. But in reality, what he mentioned in that particular interview was very critical to the way this game is going to play. He did say something about how, yes, it's a challenge to develop the game a specific way so that the game makes sense by putting all these crime activities around, because that makes the world not barren and it makes the world come alive. And there are things that you can do as a player, or you and your, maybe if you're playing with a friend or somebody that you want to actually run missions with, you guys can actually interact with the world however you want with very few limitations. And he specifically said, you know, both of you can choose to go to different places to accomplish different tasks and decide to meet up somewhere else. And that to me really spoke volumes as to how the open world and dual play is going to work. So what we're seeing here is kind of a Far Cry type of setup in terms of the way that open world is available to you and your character. But in this case, there is not necessarily some sort of a limit as to how far both of you have to be in the world that we know of anyways. And I have to say that we don't know if maybe somebody goes all the way to some other area of the map, like a borough or something, if that's going to cause an issue in terms of, say, the connection or whatever of the game, and the map has been designed that way. So there probably will be a limitation as to how that will be in a realistic sense for this game. Now, it could be that there are no limitations in this particular game. That means anyone who wants to go anywhere can actually just go where they want in the middle of a gameplay session that you and your friend are probably playing, and that will probably be no problem. It's possible because I've played a video game where that system's actually in place. Tom Clancy's The Division actually does that. If you're in a party of 4 people across the map, wherever it is, one person, if you guys are on the open world, can go wherever it is that they want, or all 4 of you can actually go to different parts of the map and accomplish different side missions that are available in that person's session. And then you guys can choose to meet at a place, or maybe one person might choose to fast travel to you and gain XP because they're close by. All kinds of really fun stuff that we do in that game. For those of you who've played it, you know the drill. It is what it is. And so I'm looking at this open world and wondering if that's going to be the system that's available here, and potentially why this game really did get that huge axe hit the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version. Which also leads me to another part of the conversation. A good longtime audience member of mine that's been here in the channel supporting and really commenting and pretty much having a lot of input on this channel, Senji, was basically talking to me about this particular paradigm. And he insinuated that Gotham Knight is probably on an open world system that Arkham games did not necessarily use, whereby the Arkham games, whenever you went into a building, because you did some exploration in buildings, you did some exploration in some secluded areas, the game would load a different level for you. This is something that is a trick in game design. So if, say, you walk into a building, or maybe you go into a plane or something, what the game will do is the game will unload parts of the map or reduce the resources so that it can load this new level for you, whereas you think you're walking into a building, but that building is just a level by itself. And Gotham Knights seems to want to have more of a seamless level streaming going on, which is quite tasking on a PlayStation 4. And I do agree, the PlayStation 4 will be tasked if you were to do something like that and then add replication on top of it. So meaning anybody can go anywhere they want, but everyone is subjected to the world responding across the server and the client for 2 players. And I think that's where the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One possibly got their issues that made the developers go ahead and finally say, yo, we're not going to be doing this. Another really interesting thing, and this is something that I talked about in the earliest times when we first got some reveals surrounding Gotham Knights, and I think some of Patrick Redding's very first few interviews, was about the way they talked about the open world being some sort of a living world. Now, many of us have pretty much seen that in many settings. We've seen that there are going to be crime activities going on, and you as a knight can go in, you can beat up bad guys, you can stop a crime from happening. This is not a new game design tactic. Warner Brothers Games Montreal have used this in the past. In fact, they used this in Arkham Origins. As you're basically gliding around the world, a crime could pretty much spawn in a given area where you are, and you could choose to engage or not engage. It was actually presented to you via police radio. I don't necessarily know how the one in Gotham Knights is going to be, but it's really cool to see that they're dialing in on that classic game design that they once used in the past, which is not unique to them. But, other games have also done it. Again, I use the Division 2 compared to, say, the Division 1, where in the Division 1, a lot of the side missions and the activities were pre-built into the game's map. And so once you completed those, that was it. You just basically ran into bad guys that were just strolling in a specific pattern, and they would spawn over and over again. But then in Division 2, what they did was they designed these small strongholds called control points, which are just little areas that bad guys will spawn at every given time after a specific, cycle in the map. Or you could reset them after a while, and then they will spawn back again, and you could go do activities there. You could farm gear, you could farm XP and all of the above. And Gotham Knights might be providing those crime aspects as those opportunities around the open world, so that when you actually finish beating the game with a character and you want to maybe level up that character to get to maybe the knighthood tree, or maybe you want to farm a blueprint and you want to craft that blueprint and you need materials to do so, you can engage with the open world and get all those materials that you want. This is a radical game design, strategy, though. I have to say that because, again, this is something that many people in our community have kind of voiced concerns about, saying, not necessarily a big fan of this because, if you consider it, it's very different from, say, the past Batman games that we've had, like Arkham City and Arkham Knight and even Arkham Asylum. You basically did different missions and, you engaged bad guys and you got a little bit of XP, which you just used to level up your skill tree. And that was pretty much it as you progressed through the game. So those were linear game design strategies. In the case of Gotham Knights, on the other hand, this game is actually designed for a lot of replay value. I think at the end of the day, nonetheless, every player is going to choose how they want to engage with the game. Everyone's going to pretty much be in that position where if they decide, and from what I'm seeing, if you want to play the game, beat the story, and then put the game down, you have the freedom and the choice to do that. But this game is really going to have what I think, if the developers are able to, execute their strategy that I'm sensing, it's going to have a lot of things that bring you back to playing the game. And again, I'm not saying this because I'm just predicting it with no information. I'm actually saying this because there used to be a job opening for the community manager. In fact, before this game was ever released, we used to go to the Warner Brothers, Montreal job listing site and read job descriptions, verbatim, word for word, and even talk about those in videos. Man, those were the fun days. And I remember seeing the job description for the community manager, and I can't remember much that was in that description, but there was something that struck me. And that was, they said that this person would be in a position where their job was to get players excited to try to log into the game every day and possibly get players informed on doing daily activities and stuff like that. So I'm not going to be surprised that Gotham Knights, with its co-op side of things, they might put some challenges where it'll be nice, or it'll make sense that you can go in with a friend and try to get those challenges done to maybe get some kind of in-game rewards, or just that hang out, have fun. These are things that, and elements anyways, that we've seen in other games be somewhat successful. And you don't necessarily need your co-op buddy, though. I mean, I hope nobody interprets what I said as it's going to be hinged on the multiplayer side. You could do these things by yourself, and that's the flexibility that games like these actually provide. But I'm gonna get out of your hair. This video is already run to 10 minutes. I usually try to keep them under 10 minutes or even 7 minutes. And I would probably continue this conversation in a different light, but I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know how it is that you think you'll be interacting with these systems that I've actually presented here. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Peace out.